I have spent the last month collecting the rarest and most insane Minecraft seeds ever found, from epic villages high above the clouds and perfect all-biome survival worlds to the most amazing islands you'll ever spawn on and biomes like you've never seen them before. Here are 75 new Minecraft seeds that you have to try. Starting with a seed where some allies have generated inside of a desert temple. Just make sure you get here quick, because as soon as you can create this world, the allies start descending towards the TNT pressure plate, and we all know what happens next. Outside of the temple, you'll also find a village with an outpost, a ruined portal that is somehow growing potatoes, and a house inside of a shipwreck. You couldn't build a crazier village if you tried. But you could build something amazing on this seed that gives you the perfect spawn for a giant medieval castle. With a stony peak mountain completely surrounded by even more max height stony peak mountains, you'll struggle to find a better location for an epic base right at spawn. There's even a gap in the mountains that leads down to the ocean. And you won't believe what you can find in the middle of the ocean in this next seed. There's a woodland mansion in between two jungle islands, but that's not even the best part. Head directly below the mansion and you can find a glitched end portal where 1/3 of the portal has somehow been activated, and it actually works. This insanely rare occurrence is unfortunately super far away from spawn. But this seed has everything you need right at your fingertips. It's a perfect survival world with every overworld biome in the game within close proximity to spawn. You start your adventure in a cherry grove that is surrounded by every biome you could ever need. There's ice spikes off in the distance, oceans and rivers close by, warm biomes and mushroom fields to the north, and even some amazing mountains for building in just 300 blocks away. But those mountains are nothing compared to where you'll spawn in this next seed. Check out this beautiful mountain dome that is entirely filled with a colourful flower forest, a large lake, and streams flowing down from the snowy peaks. It's hard to imagine a more chill and inspiring beginning to your Minecraft adventure. There's even some huge caves to explore inside the mountain slopes. And if caves are your thing, you have to check out this seed that spawns you just steps away from possibly the biggest exposed mineshaft ever discovered. This lush cavern is completely packed with wooden walkways, cave spider spawners, and tons of abandoned treasure to loot. This could be the perfect seed for a caves only survival experience, but if you decide to head to the surface, you'll find a small village island right next to your cave too. But if you want an even more exciting village island spawn, try this one that comes with a giant ruin portal. To the left of the village, you've got a huge coral reef with some mushroom fields and even a jungle island with a temple. And just a few blocks to the right, you've got another island where a shipwreck has crashed into a pillager outpost. And this isn't even the best shipwreck seed on the list, because this seed has an island with not one, but 4 shipwrecks circling the island. A single beached shipwreck is hard enough to find, so to have 4 all together on one island is pretty special. With 4 shipwrecks and 1 singular tree, this could provide a fun survival island playthrough for 4 friends. But if you prefer your structures on dry land, it doesn't get much better than this seed, because this is probably the most beautiful mansion location I've ever seen. The mansion sits on the shore of a lake, surrounded by 4 different types of forest and towered over by large jagged peaks. There's even a peaceful village next to the mansion too, and a pillager outpost chilling up in the peaks. But if you're not impressed by this outpost, just wait until you spawn next to this one, which is the tallest pillager outpost ever recorded. From the mangrove below, it stretches 168 blocks high beyond the clouds, where you get unbeatable desert views. At the bottom of the outpost, you can find a ruined portal, a village, and a desert temple. And from the very top, you can also spot a desert temple island. But that's nothing compared to the temple island you can find in this seed. This small and tall jungle island comes with a jungle temple that has been broken open by a ruined portal, and there's also a super tall jungle tree at the very top where you could build the ultimate ocean treehouse base. There's also an island close by with an epic exposed cave that would be worth exploring. I love it when temples collide with other structures. Like in this seed, where you can find a jungle temple on top of a house. You could open the door and build a fun secret entrance into the temple. And if you explore this desert village more, you can also find a pillager outpost and an exposed spider dungeon. This is a great village spawn for setting up fun bases and XP farms. But the structures in this seed are even crazier. They actually break bedrock. You spawn next to a large frozen lake where you can find a woodland mansion, a village, and an outpost inside of the mansion. And if you swim to the bottom of the lake, you can find an igloo that will drop you straight into the void. It looks like the villagers that were here have unfortunately dropped into the void too. Instead of losing a villager, you'll have too many villagers when you spawn into this seed. You start on a desert temple island, and around you are 4 more islands that all have villages. 4 desert villages as close together as they can possibly be in the middle of a coral reef. This one-of-a-kind village seed would be the perfect opportunity to build one big ocean city. But if a city up in the mountains sounds more like your vibe, this seed gives you the perfect canvas. You start on a frozen peak mountain that's entirely surrounded by max height mountains and spacious forest valleys. Just imagine a giant bridge connecting the mountaintops. But if you're not into building at these heights, don't worry, because we've got some great seeds for underground projects too. Like this seed that spawns you deep in a lush cave all the way down at Y-9. If you've been finding overworld survival a bit too easy, this is the perfect seed to try if you're up for the challenge. I'm not sure what's the best way to go about surviving down here, but I'm sure one of you can figure it out. Your best bet might be looting a dungeon for resources, which is super easy in this seed because you get an exposed skeleton spawner in a village right at spawn. With a great source of bones and XP, loads of villagers to trade with, and plenty of flat land for building, you've got an ideal start to your survival adventure. There's even a blacksmith that has generated in an aquifer that's caused a bit of flooding. Looting this chest might be difficult, but you'll have no problem finding loot in this seed that spawns you right next to 5 structures that have all generated in the same place. There's a village, a pillager outpost, a shipwreck, a giant ruined portal, and even a witch hut. Plus you've got some swamp villagers to help you get your hands on some mending books. This seed might have a bit too much action going on, so it might be a better choice to spawn on a mountain island in the middle of the ocean. This one even comes with an abandoned zombie village, so if you choose this island as your new home, you'll be tasked with restoring the village to help bring this mountain range back to life and develop your own ocean kingdom. Also, this village isn't the only abandoned civilization you'll be able to find on this island. And if you enjoy the thrill of taking on an ancient city, you should definitely try out this seed, where an end portal room has generated perfectly in the center of the city, giving you 2 portals for the price of 1. Make sure you keep watching, because we've still got more amazing end portal seeds that you really won't believe. But let's go from the darkest depths to the highest heights with this seed that spawns you up on an unbelievable windswept snow village where ice spikes follow the village up to the very top, high above the clouds. Kick this villager out because this is your home now. There's no other home in this Minecraft world that will have a better view than this. These views in this seed would be just as beautiful if it wasn't for the giant sinkhole full of crazy structures. There's a glitched ocean monument that extends all the way down to the Earth's core, and a pillager outpost that is just close enough to the meadow to give you some good target practice. There's a village with great views of the lake and some fun cliff face caves for building into. But those caves are nothing compared to the lush cave you can find below this frozen ocean island. Head through this huge open entrance and you'll find one of the most spacious caves you'll ever enter. If you can't decide between building on an island or inside of a cave, then this seed would be perfect. But if you want an island with a home that's already been built for you, hop on into this seed where a mansion has somehow generated on a mangrove survival island surrounded by coral reef. If you want a mansion spawn with ocean views, this seed is unbeatable. You might think this is the most loot-filled survival island you could spawn on, but this island has something to say about that. This seed spawns you on a village with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blacksmiths. You couldn't ask for an island with a better head start than this. You might as well call this one Iron Island, because I don't think I've ever had this much iron gear to start a game before. But you've probably had enough of the ocean, so let's head back up to the heavens. This seed spawns you so high up that you can start the game facing the clouds that are slowly rolling towards you. Beneath those clouds is a giant savanna and mixed forest mountain dome entirely surrounded by max height stony peaks in every direction you look. At the top of the mountains you can find a gap that leads you into another mountain dome. It's the perfect spawn for an epic building project. But if you'd prefer your base to look out over the ocean, you should consider building in this beautiful jungle lagoon. This area with tropical cliffs cliffs and mountains in the background is just begging to be transformed. There are perfectly positioned trees, a large lush cave with an epic entrance, and even a woodland mansion sitting right on the edge of the cliffs. And if tropical survival is your thing, it probably doesn't get better than this seed that spawns you on a jungle survival island. This one is extra special because it comes with both a jungle temple and a ruined portal. I'd love to see someone use this temple as their starter base and see how much they can transform it over 100 days without ever leaving the island. But I also think this island spawn would be a fun choice because it comes with a village house floating on a skyblock above the island. There's so much potential with this island, with its unique terrain. It's even got a small valley in the center of the island where you could bridge across from the village to your cave base on the other side. And although floating houses are pretty rare, they're not as crazy as the structure combination you can find in this seed. This windswept snow village comes with a pillager outpost and an igloo. Follow the igloo down to its exposed basement where you can find an open zombie dungeon hidden behind the outpost. But if you want to swap that dungeon out for a ruined portal, then jump into this seed, which gives you something very similar, except this time the outpost is a little longer and the igloo is a lot longer. Did you even know that igloo ladders come in different lengths? But if you want a break from the crazy villages and want something a bit more peaceful, you should check out this seed, which spawns you right by a stunning meadow village that is generated perfectly in a jagged peak mountain valley. Some villagers get all the luck, and the terrain surrounding this mountain range is just as beautiful. But the only thing better than one mountain village is two mountain villages. As you first stumble into this village, you'll notice a house way up on the peaks. You might think it's part of this village at first, but further exploration will bring you to another village on the other side of the peaks. Each village has their own patch of grass surrounded by mountains. I bet these villagers wish they were surrounded by mountains, because this is probably the most dangerous village in Minecraft. Not only do the villagers live in between a pillager outpost and an ocean monument, but they also have to deal with this sinkhole, which isn't easy when you constantly have pillagers shooting at you. Let's go from the most dangerous village to the smallest village in this list. This seed has an abandoned desert village with only one house and not even a zombie villager in sight. This village really is abandoned, but there is a desert temple close by, and if you dig directly through this shipwreck, you'll drop straight into the end portal room. Come restore this house and you'll have a village all to yourself. But how about a mountain island all to yourself? This seed spawns you looking at one of the most beautiful mountain islands you'll ever see. Take a short swim across the ocean and make this place your own. As well as the amazing cliffs around the island, there's loads to explore beneath the mountain too. But if you want an even more difficult ocean challenge, try this seed that spawns you on top of an ocean monument stranded in the middle of the ocean. Your best shot at surviving is quickly swimming to the nearby mushroom field if you can manage to escape the guardians. If you're looking for a more convenient spawn, check out this seed, where you can start your adventure next to a cherry grove, which contains a village with 5 blacksmiths. You'll never find this much loot in a more beautiful location. Around the cherry grove, you're surrounded by wide open plains and rivers all flowing around. What's even rarer than 5 blacksmiths at spawn is having 3 mansions at spawn. In this seed, you're able to find 3 woodland mansions within a 500 block radius around spawn. It's the perfect survival world for a group of 3 friends. Imagine having a mansion each where you can rule over your world together and even compete against each other. This seed spawns you on an island that is probably impossible to survive on, but there is something interesting close by. Floating in the ocean, you can find a jungle temple that has been taken over by a ruined portal. Thankfully, all the jungle treasure is still here, and there's even a shipwreck island close by too. So maybe you can use something in these chests to survive. You can find that exact same structure combination when you spawn into this seed, except this time it's inside of a village surrounded by desert, jungle, and eroded badlands off in the distance. If these biomes are too hot for you, try this seed, where you spawn high up on a beautiful snowy mountain range. A short trek over the peak will bring you to a village in the most breathtaking location, with views of rivers, forests, and mountain all around. But you won't believe the mountains that we've still got to show. But first, how about a seed with every biome in the game within a short distance from spawn? You spawn on the edge of an ocean with all the warm biomes, follow the coastline clockwise, and you'll adventure through the mountains and forest, through all the cold biomes, and eventually you'll end up back in the mangrove near spawn. And if you like the mangrove biome, you need to check out this seed. It's got a desert village at spawn inside of the mangrove with swamp villagers, and there's also a pillager outpost and desert temple where both a ruined portal and some houses have generated under the temple. You can walk right through this house and into the treasure room. Speaking of villages with treasure, it doesn't come much better than an abandoned mineshaft village. These old mines have broken their way under the houses and even through some of the houses, but at least there's some easy loot for you to grab. Maybe you could restore this village into a railway station that allows you to easily reach the surrounding biomes. The most difficult to reach biome by rail is probably a mountain island, but this one is so big that you'll never have to leave it. Spawning in this seed gives you the perfect opportunity to build an epic ocean kingdom, with plenty of space to build up in the mountains and even down by the ocean. The possibilities are endless. If you'd rather stay on the mainland but still want a good amount of water, it's hard to beat this amazing lake spawn. Not only is it surrounded by beautiful forest walls, but there's a woodland mansion right in the middle of it with a crazy sinkhole to jump into too. There's more crazy terrain in this seed when you spawn next to an unbelievable ice spikes overhang. I love how it looks like the ice spikes are holding up this huge chunk of stone. If there was ever a seed for an epic ice palace, this is the one. Speaking of ice, we've still got an epic glacier to show you, so keep watching to the end. Have you ever wondered how it would look if 4 structures all try to generate on the same cliff? Well, this is exactly what that looks like. This Badlands cliff is right at spawn, and it's got a desert temple, a ruined portal, a village, and an outpost you could turn into a diving platform. Now imagine if all of those structures were to generate on one single island, along with a shipwreck. You'd probably imagine that the island would have to be quite big, but this is probably the smallest island to ever contain 5 different structures. If this island is too small for you, here's another incredible mountain island spawn that will help you turn your Minecraft island paradise dreams into reality. This time the island's mountain is hollow with some huge caverns, meaning you've got just as much opportunity to build below the surface as you do above. Here's another mountain, except this time it's surrounded by a sea of clouds instead of water. Your spawn mountain is also completely surrounded by even more mountains and a forest valley with an abandoned village. Head to the peak of the mountain and you'll find a small crater that would be perfect for building a cozy log cabin underneath the mountain mist. Or if you're in the mood for building a skeleton farm, this would be a cool seed to do it in. You can find this skeleton dungeon right next to the entrance of the end portal room, and this isn't even the only end portal. This stronghold has 2. This village definitely got lucky. Perhaps not as lucky as this village, because we've never seen anything like it, and it's right at spawn. It sits in front of a beautiful cherry grove mountain where some houses have generated down by the lake, and at the opposite side of the village, houses have generated deep down in an exposed cave filled with stone pillars. There's even a floating tree above one of the houses. This village might be in an even more beautiful location, and it also comes along with a woodland mansion and a jungle temple. These structures are right by spawn, all surrounded by 4 different wood types and cloud-piercing jagged peaks. There's also an inviting lush cave on the slope behind the mansion that is definitely worth exploring. Another mountain slope worth exploring is this one, because at first it just looks like there's one village here at spawn, but as you hike over the peaks, you'll quickly realize that there are 2. All you have to do is extend this path and you've got yourself one big mountain city. When it comes to double structures, it doesn't come any more rare than double end portals. This seed has 2 end portals that are only 3 diagonal blocks apart, and what's even crazier is the fact that you can find these under a village floating on a lake with unbelievable waterfalls and sky-high aquifers. There's still more must-see villages coming up. But first, check out this seed that spawns you on a tropical jungle survival island. Jump down the vine-covered cliffs and you'll find that the island has some amazing lush caves to explore. With this lushness of the caves and jungle above, this could be the lushest island spawn in Minecraft. And this is the best cherry grove village in Minecraft. It comes with an open dungeon next to one of the houses, and there's 4 more structures to see directly below the village. Drop into the deep dark, where you'll find an ancient city, an abandoned mineshaft, a ruined portal, and even a stronghold. You can find another amazing structure cluster in this seed when you make your way to this meadow mountain lake. On the surface of the lake, you'll spot a village, a mansion, and an outpost. Dive a little deeper and you can find a ruined portal, and even go deeper and you'll come across a stronghold. There are even some nice caves around the lake for building a base. But if there was ever a lake worth jumping into, it's this one. Slide your way across the ice until you've reached the sinkhole in the middle, where you'll notice a large exposed mine shaft floating above the lava. I've counted at least 8 treasure chests in this sinkhole. Imagine all the loot you could leave this place with. You'll be heading up instead of down in this seed that spawns you directly underneath a pillager outpost and a fully exposed basement igloo. The villagers here are probably pretty happy that the pillagers are so high above the ground. But maybe they'd prefer if the pillagers were stuck inside of an extra tall woodland mansion. This is probably the easiest alley rescue mission of all time. I might just cover this up and forget that the pillagers are even there. This seed spawns you in another inspiring mountain range that you need to adventure through. There's one location in particular that I think you'll like. It's a small patch of ice spikes surrounded by steep snowy slopes, and there's even an abandoned village here too. This long forgotten mountain camp is waiting for you to bring it back to life. Before we move on to the final 10 seeds, you need to try out this multi-biome seed if you're looking for a long-term survival world. It's got a mushroom field just off the coast from spawn, surrounded by a huge variety of biomes. It's got the cold biomes on one side and the hot biomes on the other. This island is the perfect world center point. Something else that has generated perfectly is this house that sits right on top of a crazy windswept stone tower. I love how the house rises up perfectly from the center of the village, and you won't get a better view than this house because it's the highest point you'll find anywhere around spawn. A less than perfect village can be found in this seed because a few of the houses have been eaten by a woodland mansion. The good thing about this structure cluster though is the fact that the pillagers have generated deep down in the sinkhole. And while you're down here, you'll notice some prismarine because there's an ocean monument underneath the mansion too, plus a stronghold and a mine shaft if you were to dig even deeper. Here's another seed that gives you a spawn where you see what happens when unbelievable terrain and structures combine. At the very highest point of the windswept mountain, you can find a house, an igloo, and even a ruined portal all high above the clouds. There's also an outpost towering over the rest of the village, but at least you know this villager is safe. And if you want to be safe, it doesn't get safer than spawning conveniently on a village island surrounded by ocean. And this is one of the best village islands ever found because it comes with one singular tree, a shipwreck, and a giant ruined portal. The only thing possibly more peaceful than the ocean breeze on a survival island is the gentle petal fall of the cherry grove. Make your way through this cherry forest and you'll discover one of the most beautiful village locations Minecraft has gifted us with. Set up your home with these villagers and you're sure to have a chill survival experience. But if you'd rather chill in the mountains by yourself, you need to try this seed. This is one of the biggest and most spacious mountain domes we've come across, and it's packed with 5 different wood types. With all these materials and all this room for building, you'll struggle to find a better location for your next Minecraft base. But if you'd prefer some rare terrain that has never been seen before, let me introduce to you Minecraft's biggest glacier-filled lake. This giant lake is surrounded by beautiful mountains, and not only is it frozen on the surface, it's frozen deep below the surface too, with endless icy tunnels to explore. If you were to cut this lake in half, you'd have the first Minecraft world with a natural giant glacier. The next seed gives you the perfect spawn for role-playing as an explorer who has stumbled across an old abandoned village in the middle of the ocean. There's just one house and a few farms surrounded by coral as far as the eye can see. But there's more secrets to discover here too. Dig below the island and you can find a mine shaft, and when you dig directly below this shipwreck, you will eventually drop into an end portal room. Before we move on to the most insane structures you'll ever see, let me show you the most amazing terrain you'll ever spawn in. You'll start in a jungle mountain valley high above the clouds, rise up to get a better view, and you'll find yourself in the most amazing mountain range ever found. You've got a central mountain crater entirely surrounded by even more stony peak craters and valleys. If there ever was a seed for an epic mountain kingdom, this is the one. Now, let's check out Minecraft's most amazing structure discovery. At first, it just looks like a super tall mansion on the edge of a bamboo forest, but closer inspection will bring you to a lot more structures hidden beneath the mansion. You'll notice a desert temple buried underneath the cobble, and there's even a villager chilling underneath the cobblestone too. Take a trip inside of the cobble and you'll discover 6 more houses with villagers waiting to be rescued. There's even a ruined portal and a pillager outpost stuck inside of here too. I hope you enjoyed these brand new seed discoveries. Let us know which one was your favourite in the comments and what kind of seeds you'd like to see next. If you want to check out even more amazing seeds, click on the next video.